Yeah, up and down. All right, Jeff, thank you. 8:18 this morning. Remember when people used to think millennials would never buy homes? Well, surprise, surprise, millennial home buyers have passed up baby boomers and Gen Xers for the 5th year in a row. But if you need help making your New Year resolution of home buying a reality, we have just the person for you. Dan, our money man, is here to help us break it all down. Dan, I'm going to tell you, to be completely honest and transparent,
Yep.
I'm not sold on buying a home. I'm not.
I know. You and I have talked about it. In your case, it may not make sense because of this, well, kooky industry that we're in.
Yeah.
But you're right, Lauren. Finally, the millennials are a big part of the home buyers. It's 37% of them last year. That is the largest share of home buyers last year. So millennials have finally reached this, peak where they're in the market and they're buying homes because they can now afford to buy those homes, or at least some of them can.
Well, do you think it's because a lot of them are getting married and they're no longer single, so we have the dual income thing going on?
No question. So everything has been delayed with this generation because of the Great Recession that we went through 10 years ago, right? So you're absolutely right. They're finally catching up with things like getting married, what my kids call adulting.
Yes.
Right? And what we're seeing now is they're creating this demand to buy our houses, the baby boomers' houses, which is good if you're a baby boomer trying to get out of your house.
How much are we talking the home prices are roughly?
Median home price in the country is about $250,000. Here in Philly, it's about $182,000. So Philly's still a pretty affordable market. But the problem, though, millennials face is the down payment, Lauren.
Ooh.
So the average down payment last year was about 18 grand.
Oof.
And as you and I talked about a little bit before, millennials have to make some sacrifices to get to that down payment so they can get into that house.
So that's the thing. I don't want to sacrifice 18 grand because if I have an emergency, in case of emergency, I'm almost sort of wiping out everything that I've tried to save.
I hear you. So that's the choice that we have to make. And 70% of millennials are saying we're willing to make that sacrifice to get into the American dream. So how are we going to do it? Well, here's a few tips. Right?
Okay.
So first, we have to have a budget. Everyone needs a budget. It doesn't have to be a complicated thing. Just set some goals. You want to set those, take a look at your savings goals and how am I going to get that down payment? Put away the avocado toast for a while. Get a part-time job. Whatever it is, you want to reduce those expenses, boost the income, and try to get that down payment. You want to clean up your credit report, Lauren. 20% of millennials have an error on their credit report.
Oh.
And that, as you know, will hurt them when they try to get that mortgage. So clean up that credit report, get pre-qualified for a mortgage, and there's special programs out there for first-time buyers, i.e. millennials. Check out websites like the PHFA, that's the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Authority.org, where you'll find all kinds of great programs as well.
Okay, so one of our famous faces here, producer
Yes.
Candace,
Yes.
just went through this entire process.
Yep.
Candace, there she is.
Hey.
Was the process worth it?
It is worth it.
Okay.
It's just very, very, very stressful. So I purchased my house just about 3 months ago.
Okay.
And Dan asked me what was the biggest issue I had or the biggest concern I had. And I would tell the one piece of advice I have is to make sure you have your finances in order, but the paperwork in order. So it's not just about knowing your credit score, but it's about knowing where all of your bank statements are, where all your tax returns are, where all of your paperwork is, because when they ask for it, they want it and they want it right away.
I remember Candace telling us one day she couldn't spend a single dime, and we were all like, what?
Yeah.
She's like, they're watching my money that closely.
Yeah, we walked through this with Candace, who's the smartest millennial I know, by the way. And, it's a tough process. She's absolutely right. The banks have gotten a lot stricter in terms of requirements and things like that. So it's not easy, but in Candace's case, obviously it was worth it. And by the way, that's a pretty bougie looking place.
I do think so too.
Yeah.
Dan, here's one thing that I think I saw in the notes that you said. One of the things was to get a roommate.
Yeah.
I cannot have a roommate at this phase in my life.
Well, listen, you and I both. I can barely put up with the first lady, but that's a whole nother story. Look, here's the deal. If you are really committed to buying your first home and you want to get into that home, you're going to have to do what it takes, Lauren. And that means for a lot of folks out there, sharing expenses with the whole roommate thing.
It's true. All
Yeah.
right. So small sacrifices for a big payoff, right?
And Candace, rock on. That's a great looking place.
I know, Candace. When's the party?
Yeah.
Hey. All right. Lottery numbers, quick break. We'll be right back.